Hi everyone, my name is Juan from Just One Reader, and today I am making the Bookish Academy Awards book tag. This tag was originally created by Book-A-Doodles a couple of years ago, and it consists of taking the categories from the Oscars or Academy Awards and matching those categories with bookish categories. So I'm going to choose from the pile of books that I read in 2015, which is last year, and let's just get started, shall we? So the first category is Best Actor, which would correspond to Best Male Protagonist. And for this one, I chose Jude St. Francis from A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. Without a single question, this is the character that I got the most attached to in 2015. He is a really messed up character, but that made him all the more interesting. Next category is Best Actress, which corresponds to Best Female Protagonist, and for this I chose Mallory from Bird Box by Josh Malerman, not precisely because Mallory is a spectacular or particularly interesting character herself, but because of the way that Josh Malerman inserts the reader in Mallory's head and he constructs a very psychological, truly horrifying experience, and I really recommend it. Next category is Best Cinematography, which corresponds to Best Plot Twist, and I chose The 13th Tale by Diane Sutterfield. This is a thoroughly delightful read. It combines Gothic literature, or at least a Gothic tone. It combines mystery, suspense, very literary kind of fiction, like it's a book for bookish people because it's a book about books, as you can tell from the cover. But the plot twist changes everything, and I really like that. It's kind of a Jane Eyre-ish kind of plot twist, and it just makes the book much more enjoyable. Next category is Best Costume Design, and of course this corresponds to Best Book Cover. I realized now that I didn't really read any books that had particularly beautiful covers, which makes me proud of, not having read books because of their covers, but still, what the hell? So I went with the cover, or the book altogether, that was the prettiest object in itself, and that was El Libro Salvaje by Juan Villoro. This is a Mexican author's children's literature book, and it's a very pretty object in itself. Everything is beautiful about this book. It was also one of my favorite books of the year. It has beautiful illustrations by Gabriel Martinez Miv, and the illustrations are really fantastic. The next category is Best Supporting Actor, and of course this would translate to Best Male Sidekick in a book, and I chose Tiny from Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan, a book that I absolutely loved because it was just the right book at the right moment. It was just funny and fresh and weird and wonderful, and Tiny was the character that made this book for me. He was really like the best thing, the best ingredient in this mix for me. And of course the next category is Best Supporting Actress or Best Female Sidekick, and I went with Robin from the entire series by Robert Galbraith. I chose this one in particular, Career of Evil. It's the third installment in the series, the Cormoran Strike series by J.K. Rowling or Robert Galbraith. This is the one that I read in 2015. I really liked it. I really liked this one in particular, this book in particular, because it was much more centered on the characters than the previous two books in the series, and Robin especially was a character that I got to know a lot better, and I really enjoyed that aspect of this book. The next category is Best Original Screenplay, which corresponds to the most unique plot or world? And I went with the most original book, in my opinion, that I read in 2015, and that was More Than This by Patrick Ness. This was a book that completely blew my mind, and it has the most amazing plot, the most amazing world. It's a book that messes with your brain, completely destroys you, and then destroys you again. And just when you think you're recovered, it kicks you again and just leaves you dead on the floor and kicks you again and again and again. It's wonderful, and yeah, I just chose this because in my opinion it was the most original plot and world. Then we have Best Adapted Screenplay, which corresponds to Best Book to Movie Adaptation. And I went with a clear winner for me, and that is Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. This is also one of my favorite books, and I was going to pick it up for the category of Best Female Protagonist because, you know, Gillian Flynn's female characters, protagonists, tend to be wonderful. But this was ultimately the best adaptation I saw in 2015. The movie of Dark Places was phenomenal. I loved everything about it. It's really worthy of the book. Next up is Best Animated Feature, which corresponds to a book that would work well in an animated format, and I picked up Neil Gaiman's M is for Magic. This is a short collection of short stories, and I could really see this as an animated. Let me see. There's a lot of illustrations. Like for example, this one is from the story How to Sell the Ponte Bridge, and I could just really see this in a cartoon or animation format. It would be really cool. Then the next category is Best Director, a writer that you discovered for the first time, and this was also very clear, Alice Smith, for the book There But For That. I just loved her writing style. I think she is one of the most intelligent, cleverest writers that I have ever read. The way that she plays with language and uses the language in a completely different way just amazed me, and I really want to pick up more of her material. Next up is Best Visual Effects, which corresponds to Best Action in a Book, and I chose And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie because this book is purely action. It's action and action and action and plot twist after plot twist after plot twist, and it's just a very fun ride. It's about 300 pages exactly, and not one of those pages feels empty or dull. It's just action, and it's the most action-packed book I've read in 2015, and that's why I chose it. Then the next category is Best Musical Score, which would translate to Best Music in a Book-to-Movie Adaptation. Honestly, I had a lot of trouble with this category, so I didn't do that one. So instead of Best Musical Score, I am going to do Best Children's Literature Book, which I guess in the Oscars would be like Best Animated Film or Best, how do you call that, like Pixar, Disney, you know, that, like that category. Okay, so I'm gonna go with Liesel and Poe by Lauren Oliver. This is probably my favorite children's literature standalone. It was absolutely beautiful, perfect. That's why. Then the next category is Best Short Film, which translates to Best Novella or Short Book. And I went with the novella Cycle of the Werewolf by Mr. Stephen King. This is illustrated. It's really wonderful. This book was perfect. It was very simple. The writing is very concise, very forward, very just very direct, and it's like a very typical Stephen King story where he takes a small town with this very mundane, sort of American tropey characters, and then he does something that alters the course of these people's lives, and it's just wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I read it in about 30 minutes. It's wonderful. And then we have Best Picture, which is of course Best Standalone. So like I said at the beginning of the video, I could have easily chosen A Little Life because that was my favorite book of the year, but because I wanted to give you more variety, I went with another book that equally deserves this recognition, and it is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This is one of the most perfect, most enchanting novels I've read in my life. It's a book that I constantly think of. I look at the cover and I get shivers. Something inside of me just churns. This is a very emotional book. I could not even tell you what it is that made it so huge and so big a deal for me. You just have to love it. And actually, now that I think of it, this could have been my favorite cover of the year. So this could count for that category too. And the last category of this book tag is Best Documentary, which corresponds to Best Historical Fiction or Nonfiction. I didn't read any historical fiction because I'm just not very I don't like that genre very much, but I did read some nonfiction, and my favorite one was, without a question, Is It Just Me by Miranda Hart. This is a book that made me laugh the entire time I was reading it. It put me in the best mood. I don't think it has any illustrations to show you. No. Wait, it does. It's just a very, very funny book. It's a wonderful experience. It's kind of a beach read, something that you can read on a holiday, really just to take your mind off of things. It's absolutely wonderful if you are into this kind of thing. So, yeah. So that was the Bookish Academy Awards book tag. Thank you very much for watching. Please feel free to comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.